as those dates approach. As many of you know, when a district of our size experiences an event of this magnitude, it's common practice to bring in additional communication supports. This approach helps us manage the volume of requests and inquiries more effectively. It also allows us and the community to benefit from the independent perspective and expertise of a third-party professional. With that in mind, I am pleased to introduce my colleague, Tom DeLapp, who will be addressing most of the additional questions posed today. Tom has been instrumental in helping us navigate this in this process, and I'm confident in his insights and invaluable during this time of discussion today. So Tom, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'm going to let one more person in. Okay, Tom, I'm going to turn that over to you.
Great. Good morning, everyone. Let me introduce myself to you. I have been doing school communication work for nearly 50 years since I graduated from college, public affairs and crisis communication work. I used to work for the Association of California School Administrators and California's management teams. Did that for 9 years, and I've dealt with high-profile situations, communication planning, things like that. Most recently, I was the chief communication coordinator for the Camp Fire down in Paradise, California, which was pretty devastating. I've also worked in places like Columbine High School during their tragedy. So I usually get called when things are going to be high profile. My role here is to provide support for Stacy and the rest of the leadership team. And I know we've been dropped into a situation where I know the media are concerned that there have been delays in getting out information. But please understand that this was a school district that, what do I need to adjust my screen for? Okay.
Sorry, your head's pretty low on the screen. If you can tilt it a little bit so you're closer to the top, it'll look better when we frame you up.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry for that.
Yeah,
even a little bit more, like, because oftentimes on TV we'll put a box at the bottom of your head and it will cut your chin off if you're too close to the bottom.
Perfect. Thanks for letting me know.
Make myself a little bit more presentable. How's that working?
It just the only problem is I think that you're looking at a screen that's above you now, and so then we're looking at from below where you're like below your chin and while you're looking.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Sorry, just want to make sure you look good on TV.
Well, thanks, Christine. I appreciate it. This is about as good as it gets, so I'm apologizing in advance. How's that? Does that look better?
Yeah, the angle's good. If you look down instead of looking up, you should be good.
Okay.
Thanks.
I'll try to look at myself. I'll try to look at my camera. Okay, so I've been brought in just to provide support, and I work through the Northwest Region Service District, and they provided me to spend time for the next couple of months with the district, trying to help with its communications. So yeah, and I was saying there have been concerns that we've been a little slow in getting to the community with information. That's largely a result of two things. One, we right now have the superintendent on leave, the high school principal on leave, and we've got the president, chair of the board, who has resigned. So that left a leadership void. So we didn't really know who was going to be leading the system. And the second part was we have a lot of details that we need to figure out. And so one of the things I'm sure that you're concerned about is how this investigation that we've launched is going to proceed. And it was one of the commitments we made the first day that the superintendent was on on the ground here. Steve Webb said what he would like to do is bring in an investigator very quickly, and that investigator has already started this week. The process that'll be followed is to make sure that we conduct personal interviews with appropriate staff members, that we do document review, we're checking emails, we're doing a real deep dive into figuring out what happened, who knew what and when, whether our procedures are in alignment, whether we're using best practices on mandated reporting. All of those kinds of things are still subject to the investigation. Now, the investigation is going to proceed. We obviously have a gap with the winter break starting on the 20th, but we will resume it in January. And we should, the commitment was between 45 and 60 days, have a final report. That final report will be made public. I think it's important for our community to know that and to be able to see the details to the extent that we legally can put them in there, because we do have to respect the due process rights and the privacy rights of the individuals involved. So we'll make sure that we can give you whatever we can give you legally when that report is finished. It is important that we not release the details of that investigation piecemeal, partly because it jeopardizes the integrity of the investigation, because people talk to each other, well, what did you say? All that sort of thing. So that investigation is proceeding full bore, and our investigator is named Dave Novotny. He's a former superintendent, an educator. He's also a private investigator. And so he's done a lot of these kinds of personnel-related investigations. Keep in mind that this investigation is an internal investigation being conducted by the school district in collaboration with and cooperation with law enforcement's investigation, which deals more with the criminal side, and we deal more with the professional misconduct issues. So there's more that we'll be able to talk about that. Probably at our next briefing, we'll have a short update and another one before the 20th. So that's me. That's why I'm here. I'm glad to help out. This is a very small district. It doesn't have a lot of bandwidth. It's not a large district that normally in media markets would have lots of folks who could help. So we ask for your patience and your understanding and support as we try to navigate our way through this. So we've sent you in advance sort of an FAQ sheet that we tried to pull together the most important questions and provide some answers for. We will also take from you any questions that you have right now so that we can upgrade and update that FAQ. We're trying to be as transparent as possible, and we know that our community is very anxious and they want some answers, and we're determined to get those to them as expeditiously as we can. So I think it's more important that we open it up to questions, and I think the way we'll handle this is if you could hit the raise your hand button or click on your microphone to let us know if you have a specific question, and we'll see what we can do to answer.
Yeah, Joni raised her hand first, and then we'll go to Christina after that. So Joni?
Hi, this is Joni from OPB. I was wondering if either Stacy or Thomas could give us an update on attendance at the high school. We've heard that there was quite a drop-off in attendance in the week or a couple weeks after this whole story broke. I was wondering if you had any specific info on that.
We don't have specific details on that. I don't know, Stacy, if you've got anything more. Typically, in a situation like this, parents will pull back and students will pull back. And one of the things I think that's important is to recognize and appreciate that your students have been given voice in this. They've taken to the streets a little bit, and they were one of the triggering factors for why the schools were closed for a couple of days. Now, keep in mind that once this sort of settles down, they will still need to get back into school because they're coming up on midterms and the rest of that. But we don't have any actual numbers. We can get back to you with that, with just a report out on what the attendance has been day to day, just to check those patterns. I appreciate the question.
Yeah, where we're at. Christina?
Yeah, thanks for taking questions. I appreciate it. Dr. Webb left the Vancouver School District was placed on paid administrative leave before he left the Vancouver School District. We have information that he's separated on a $500,000 severance package. No information as to what happened, why he was placed on paid administrative leave. Can you speak to that? And can you also speak to why the district chose to hire somebody who is placed on paid administrative leave from his last school-related job? And during a time like this, why would you choose somebody that can't offer, a reason as to why he left the last school district he was at?
Sure. I think that's an important question. Dr. Webb is a seasoned and experienced superintendent. He served for a long period of time in his Vancouver school district and worked his way up through the ranks as an administrator. So he has vast experience. He also, since his departure from Vancouver, has been working as a leader, a trainer, and also a leader in the educational organizations in Oregon and across the country. In the terms and provisions of his departure, we put in the FAQ that we're going to be posting, so that has more specifics. But in general, they agreed to disagree, and this happens fairly frequently in public schools, where when you have an election change and board members come in, they feel they have new mandates, new priorities, and they may decide that what they want is a change of direction in their leadership, not necessarily related to any conduct or behavior or cause or anything else. It's kind of like the general manager of a football team. When the owner comes in, they want to maybe make a change, or the coach. So in this case, they agreed to disagree. We won't discuss the specific issues, but they agreed to part ways. Did that reasonably amicably, but they did have an agreement which was a non-disparaging agreement, and he got a severance package, which is part of the standard contracts that if you're in the middle of your contract, you can essentially be bought out of that contract. And so it wasn't for real cause. Now, why did we hire him? Well, he was available. He has a lot of expertise. He's known in the Northwest as a solid leader and has done trainings and things like that. So he was available. Some of that is the pressure from the local community to come up with leaders, a leadership position quickly. We took that into account. We didn't want to do a search, and we didn't want to get engaged in all sorts of delays more than we had. So we brought him in as quickly as we could.
And it was important to get somebody from the outside too, as our community had stated. So if Christine, I believe I sent that in a thing, but if you didn't get that in the questions, let me know and I'll send that to you. But we've made a statement on that this morning. Ezra.
Hi, thanks for taking some questions. I've got two different things here. Let me make sure I've got them here. The first one is regarding Dr. Webb. During his press conference, he said that he would be hosting media availability and available answering questions. He's not here today. Why not?
He had commitments back up at his home, and he's been spending, as you can imagine, long days, long hours, and so he had a commitment back north. We are looking for the possibility of staging more opportunities with him to be the face of the school district in these sessions. And so we'll get back to you on that. He may be available for individual conversations with the press, and also for maybe participating in our Friday session. So he's not here simply because he had another commitment.
And then in addition, how is the school supporting students as they deal with this situation? What resources are being provided?
Stacy, I'm not sure, but typically in situations like this, the Education Services District will try to mobilize some counselors to come in, be available on campus. We can find the detail of how many have been assigned and check on that traffic, if you will. But yeah, obviously there is concern amongst the student body, and there's concern, I think, amongst parents and families. You know, how are my kids reacting or going to be affected by the news that's coming out about their teachers?
Yeah, Ezra, I can get you a list of those agencies.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've heard from the community is that some of those resources were made available and then quickly disappeared. I guess my question is, what's the continuing commitment from the school district to support these students?
Well, we have a commitment to make sure that our students' well-being is taken care of, and that we are responsive to their needs. I'll find out and get back to you guys what if there was some withdrawal of that. Was it based upon we needed to do the immediate couple of days, or are there ongoing commitments? I know that the regional service district has been committed to supporting students and to making sure that their voice is being heard, and that they also have the kind of services if this thing has caused emotional issues with them. So we'll get back to you, Ezra, on the numbers and a reference as to, again, how to access all of those services.
Let's bring in Kaylin.
Morning. Yeah. So one of the other things that I'd heard from community members is while they were protesting, teachers from St. Helens said that they had been emailing admin about the abuse and stuff. Is that true? Did you guys get reports from teachers about sexual abuse that weren't reported to the authorities?
We're in the process through this investigation of doing a pretty good deep dive into any reportable incidents that have occurred and how they were dealt with. There has not been an uptick in new allegations of sexual misconduct, but there has been, as this broke in the news, obviously people are coming forward. So in the last month, just about a month since this went all public, we're looking for people to tell us and to tell law enforcement if there's additional allegations or victims that may be out there. But yeah, the investigation will determine what we knew, when we knew it, what we did about it, and when we should have known about it. So all of these things are a little bit premature because we, again, expect this weeks-long investigation to find out what happened. And we're committed to getting to the bottom of this and giving you continuing and final answers so you can have confidence and trust in the school district.
Perfect. We have 10 minutes left. I'll let you know the next three so we can just kind of get that order. I have Kyle, Joelle, and Maxine. See if we can get this done in the next 10 minutes. Kyle?
Thank you. I just wanted to follow up on that point specifically. So you'd mentioned that you're looking for people to tell you if there have been additional victims or allegations that are out there. Have you identified any additional victims or perpetrators?
We have not identified any additional perpetrators. We are getting uncorroborated yet speculation maybe that there are more victims, but we can't say for sure. And we're working with law enforcement on that as well, because it's our role to support them as they're investigating to find out if there's anybody else that was affected by this.
And then along those same lines, how might this independent investigation be impacted or potentially impeded by that ongoing criminal investigation?
Well, I know that our superintendent, acting superintendent Steve Webb, met yesterday with the acting chief of police, and they have committed to meet a couple of more times personally to make sure that we are in fact in sync, collaborating and cooperating with each other, so that we're not stepping on their toes and they're not impeding our internal investigation. So we expect a good partnership with local law enforcement to make sure that we get to the bottom of this.
Joelle.
Thank you for taking questions. My question, I asked this a while ago, but to date, how many district staff members are currently on paid administrative leave in connection with these ongoing investigations, and what has that cost the district so far?
Well, the individuals that are on leave are continuing to get their salaries because it's paid administrative leave. We have right now the superintendent, the high school principal, and the teacher, Stearns. Those three are on paid leave right now, pending the outcome of the criminal investigation. We have other people that might be on leave, but they're not related to this case. They could be for other things that are being investigated from a personnel standpoint, some professional boundary that was violated, or failure to comply with a practice that we have in the district. Those are protected under privacy, due process, in personnel policies. But right now we have the three, and we will obviously put on leave and remove from contact with students anybody who the law enforcement tells us is connected to these cases.
Is the middle school teacher being investigated by police not also on leave, or the two other staff members being investigated by ODHS on leave as well? Like I said, we also continue to hear from parents and community members a concern about that process, just because of how sensitive this issue is, feeling like they're paying for some of this stuff. So that's why I'm asking for not just the case of Stearns, but amid all these ongoing investigations, how many district staff members?
We can get a hard number on that. We're trying to work with HR to separate out the ones which would not fall into allegations of sexual harassment, sexual assault. And there are various reasons that people would be put on leave. Being put on leave is not necessarily an admission of guilt. It's more to remove the employee from the situation while we look into and find the answer. I'll get back to you, Joelle, on that as we take a look at that list and see who falls within the category. Because I know that has been a speculation, how many teachers are out, and the middle school teacher as well.
Perfect. I will let you know we are down to 6 minutes, and my Zoom will cut out. So we want to get to Maxine. So hopefully we get that in time.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Hi. In the Q&As, there's a reference to a third-party investigator retained through the district's law firm. Is that the same as the Dave Novotny investigator?
Yes.
Okay. And then lastly, I wanted to get the payment for acting principal Christine Ellis, her 90-day contract. How much is she being paid?
Well, I think I received a records request from you, if I believe correctly, and we're working on getting that sent out to you as soon as I have that. So that will be shortly.
Yeah, the district has seen an uptick in Public Records Act requests, obviously, and we are bringing in, I think, some additional help to meet the obligations of timelines, and also to decide which is appropriate information, what has to be redacted.
And Mr. DeLapp, are you on contract with the school district or through Northwest Education?
I'm through the Northwest Region Education Services District.
And for how long?
Well, I'm probably going to be here until the investigation report is issued. Probably February.
Absolutely. We're down to 4 minutes, and I want to be sensitive to everyone's time. We could probably take about 1 more minute. And the reason I'm telling you the time is because my computer will cut off. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. So let's try to get 1 more in if we can. Christina?
Yeah, thank you so much. TPSC's records don't show that Dr. Webb has an active Oregon license. I know that there's some regulations that allow for him to have a temporary license as an administrator. Is he pursuing that? Does he have one yet?
Yeah, well, he had up one obviously up in Washington, and there are provisions, and he is pursuing to be able to recognize the Washington one through Oregon. So he is pursuing that, and we'll let you know when that's occurred, Christina.
Does he have the temporary administrative license in the meantime? The conditional administrative, he does have one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay, so I want to thank each and every one of you for joining Tom and I today. We really appreciate you taking the time and providing the questions ahead of time. We felt we could give you a little head start and then have more free time to answer questions that you had directed for us this morning. We will be hosting 2 more before the Christmas break. They will be each Friday at 10 o'clock, and I'll send out a link prior. If you have questions in the meantime, go ahead and send that my way, and Tom and I will work on getting those prepared for you ahead of time. But for now, we really appreciate your time. Thank you for your patience, understanding, and support.
Let me jump in just with a final thing.
Absolutely.
From the communications team standpoint, we want to be as transparent with you in the media as we can, based on the law, but we also want to make sure that we are in fact responsive to what you are asking. So we will have these briefings so that you can all hear the same thing at the same time, but that we will also provide for as timely a response as we can to individual requests in the intervening days. And then if you have questions, we're not trying to script the answers. We're trying to make sure we're answering appropriately and accurately what you want. We're not trying to pull it off the top of our head or do it in a situation like this. So if we ask you for, what are your questions you'd like to see us address? If we haven't already put that up in our FAQ, then by all means, let us know. That way we can be more prepared to help you.
Thank you so very much. Appreciate your time.